Willow, are you hiding under the table? You're supposed to be executive producer. You got to help me. Come on. There you go. All right, give me a high five. Thank you for the high five. Thank you, Miss Willow. All right, you ready? Let's do this. Hello, and welcome back to Women for Wealth. So, this one is covering the cost of weddings. Let's be honest, it is almost the end of January, and springtime weddings are a thing, summer weddings are a thing. So there's a lot of people now that are getting married or getting engaged to get married in the spring or in the summer that are starting to do wedding plans. I know my niece is getting married in the spring. I know that who else? I know 3 or 4 younger people that are all going to get married this year. And I think it's great. I'm an advocate of marriage. I think marriage actually helps you on your wealth journey when you have a partner in life, someone that you can depend on and rely on. And he's kind of a safety net for you. It gives you the ability to take a couple more risks and do a couple more things. And, you know, as the kids say today, be the next power couple. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate of marriage. I think if you get married, you should stay married. I'm not an advocate of divorce unless there's really reasons, and there are reasons for divorce. All right, so let's get to this. Let's get to a couple of stats. So this came about because I was listening to something that says the average wedding in the state of Utah now costs $37,000. Y'all, I heard that stat and I was like, I have got to do a video on this because spring weddings are coming up and this is ridiculous. I mean, honestly, it is absolutely ridiculous to spend $37,000 on a wedding day, especially in America where half of all people get divorced. Just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. People are spending money at Starbucks and, people are buying avocado toast or whatever's trendy right now. And, all that stuff adds up and it keeps people poor. You can't waste $37,000 on one day of your life and expect to have a wealthy life. That same $37,000 applied to a mortgage can save close to $100,000 over the life of the home. So that $37,000 could be the equivalent of $100,000 if you apply it to your mortgage and not waste it on the wedding. Research shows couples who spend over $20,000 on a wedding have a 1.6 times higher divorce rate than couples who spend under $10,000. If you go into debt to get married, that's not romantic. It's not, oh, that's so wonderful. No, it's stupid. It's reckless. If you expect your parents to go into debt because of your wedding, you're not an adult. You're not ready to get married. A $37,000 emergency fund is worth 10 times that amount in reduced stress and household stability. You're going to remember parts of your wedding day, no matter how much you spend. If you spend $3,700 or $37,000, memories still happen. Unless there's an open bar and you have a couple of uncles that get a little crazy, then all bets are off. Then you're going to have some great storytells. If you absolutely must spend $37,000, spend $5,000 on the wedding, put $30,000 into investment, use the returns for anniversary trips every year. Marriage is about building a life. It's not about hosting an event for your friends. Bring back the county courthouse. So, story time. So, my husband Thomas and I have been married for 28 years, I guess, coming up in March. And when we got married, we spent $5. You heard me, $5. So, how do you get married in South Carolina for $5? Well, in South Carolina at the time, you didn't have to have a court or a judge or someone like that to marry you. Anybody that had a notary could sign your marriage license and marry you. We did our research. We knew that. We went and got our marriage license and we were sitting on it, honestly, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Thomas was divorced and had 3 kids. I wasn't married and had Kevin, and I wasn't looking for an extravagant wedding even back then. I knew we wanted to get married, and I thought at the time I picked up the marriage license that I wanted to have some type of event, some type of wedding event, something that family and friends could come to celebrate with us. But at the end of the day, it didn't happen. Ex-wives are not always mature adults. And my husband's ex-wife definitely was not. And she was refusing to let him have visitation with his kids. And so we went to the closest mailboxes, etc., had them sign the marriage license. They actually didn't know that they could marry somebody in the state of South Carolina. They had to call the courthouse to make sure they were authorized to sign a marriage license, and they are. And once they realized that, pay the $5, they signed it. They even mailed it to the courthouse for record, which was great because I mean it was like, I don't know, 15 minutes. I was wearing a white tank top. I was wearing khaki shorts. I had on sandals. I had no makeup on and my hair was in a ponytail. I remember that. That was what I wore on my wedding day. I was very comfortable. It was down in Charleston because that's where my husband's ex-wife lived at the time. So that's what we did. We just drove to Charleston, signed the marriage license, went to the house to pick up the kids, had to call the police and have the police come to the house and say, yes, he gets to have visitation with his children. Yeah, so we got married honestly over a technicality. If he could have been able to have visitation with his children and his ex-wife would have been such a witch, and y'all know the other word that I want to use, but I'll say witch, then we wouldn't be married today. Because honestly, I didn't expect to get married. I'm glad that we did. It's definitely made the situation a lot better for us to be married and have the finances combined, and we're able to work together. We're able to build a wealthy life together. Long story short, I've been married longer than most people, and I only paid $5. You can do it. You don't have to spend a lot of money for a wedding. Again, your family and friends, you can have a backyard barbecue and have a wedding celebration after the fact. You don't have to have a $37,000 wedding or one of these location weddings. You know, it's ridiculous. My stepdaughter is married. She eloped and went to a courthouse. So, you know, good on her, I think, because she now has two children and her and her husband both work and they're working towards, you know, building a life together. They're not there yet. They're still renting. They hadn't been able to afford a house, which two of my other two kids hadn't either. Only my oldest son has been able to buy a house with his wife. Finances are just tough right now, you know, but don't try to dig your way out of a hole. When you get in a hole, stop digging. And the best way to get in a hole at the beginning of a marriage is to waste $37,000 on one day. It's a wedding day. It's gonna be whatever you want it to be. If it's special and magical, it'll be special and magical to you. Even if you're wearing shorts, a tank top, and sandals, and no makeup, and your hair's up in a ponytail. I will always remember that story. And it is a great story. People love to hear it. Like, wait a minute, wait. Uh, you met online back before online dating was a thing? Yeah. We met on AOL in a chat room. And that's true. We did. We met on AOL in a chat room and we just got to know each other. And then he came to visit me and I went to visit him and we dated a while. And then, and by a while, I mean like hardly any. We met online in December. He called me for my birthday, which is January 27th. He called me for my 21st birthday to tell me happy birthday. I saw him the weekend after that. And then I went to Charleston to spend the weekend with him for Valentine's. And then we got married March 20th. So you want to talk about fast? I mean, it was bam, bam, bam. I'm not recommending that methodology. I don't think it works for everybody. It worked for us. We knew we were in love. I was 21. I had a son. I was in college. I think Thomas was 27 when we got married. And he was divorced and had 3 kids. And he was working. He got out of the Air Force. But he was working somewhere. But he was not in the Air Force anymore at the time. And we ended up falling in love and getting married very quickly. And it's worked for us. We are in love. We are partners. We do life together. We share our journey for a wealthy life. And it's wonderful. And you know what? It cost us $5 to do this, not $37,000. So anyway, I know I'm rambling a little bit. So just want to make sure that I get this out there, as so many younger people are planning their spring weddings coming up. just don't do it. Don't waste a lot of money on a wedding. Don't waste a lot of money for a party. It's not about your friends and family. It's about you and your spouse and making a lifelong commitment in front of family and God and saying, you know what? I love this person. I'm committed to them for the rest of my life, as the wedding vows go in sickness and in health. And so take your $37,000, apply it to a mortgage, and increase the value to almost $100,000. Or, spend $5,000 on a wedding, $30,000 investments, then use the money you get from the investment to pay for an anniversary trip every year. Something where you and your spouse just go somewhere, just the two of you. And that's a lot more romantic and a lot more special than going to the Hilton ballroom with family and friends and open bar and aunts and uncles are getting drunk and acting stupid. And you just don't need that. You don't need that in your life. You need to start your wealth journey when you start your marriage journey, in my opinion. I think whoever you're going to marry, and you need to sit down and get on the same page with religion, politics, family. How are you going to deal with each other's family? How many kids are you going to have? How are you going to raise them? And finances. So if you can get those big four down in an agreement before you get married, I promise you're going to increase your longevity of your marriage and you're going to be a lot happier in your marriage. So until next time, I'm an advocate of marriage. Just don't waste money on it. Be frugal. Do whatever you need to do to make that day feel special for you. But at the end of the day, do not waste money on a huge wedding. That $37,000, that's insane. Especially with the current economic forecast that we've got. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. So until next time, I wish you health and wealth.